Hello everyone, so we are back with the fourth part of the French Revolution. So just a quick preview you can say of the previous video which we discussed. We discussed the topic, the outbreak of revolution. We discussed how the people or the members of the third estate walked out of the that assembly and eventually they formed their own national assembly and they drafted a constitution, like they were drafting a constitution, you can say. And then revolt happened, riots happened, and eventually the king acknowledged the National Assembly and their constitution. So today we'll discuss that thing, that France becomes a constitutional monarchy, and here the constitution which we are talking about is drafted by the National Assembly, which we discussed in the previous video. So let's start. So our first topic is constitution. So if I ask that, what do you mean by constitution, or what is a constitution? Just give a thought about it. So constitution is like the basic laws or rules of a country or organization, you can say. So talking about the Constitution of India, like here we are dealing with France, but we live in India. So what does our constitution says? The Constitution of India, or you can say the Bharatiya Samvidhan, is the supreme law of India, the document that lays down the framework demarcating fundamental political code, structure, procedure, powers and duties of government institutions, and sets out fundamental rights, directive principles and duties of citizens. So I hope that it is clear that what do you mean by a constitution. So now coming back to France, the draft of constitution was completed by National Assembly in 1791. Main objective was to limit the powers of the monarch. And then what happened? Powers were separated and assigned to different institutions like the legislature, executive and judiciary, and this made France a constitutional monarchy. So like power, like what happened, power, instead of being concentrated in the hands of one person, were now separated and assigned to different institutions. We'll discuss it thoroughly later in the next slides. So what happens when an absolute monarchy is turned into a constitutional monarchy? Like absolute monarchy is there is a king, and now it is converted into a constitutional monarchy. So what happens is that monarch was still the head of the state, but he lost sovereignty. Now what is sovereignty? The lawmaking power, you can say, because the constitution deprived him of exclusive lawmaking power. So what is the crux is that the king is there, but he is not the absolute or the supreme power. Like there is a legislative body who will take decisions, we'll discuss it further later, but he's the head of the state, but he has lost the sovereignty. So this made France a constitutional monarchy. I hope it's clear. Now this is the political system under the constitution. So what happened, like the separation of powers was done into judiciary, executive and legislature. These three bodies were formed. So we'll discuss each body, like what is their work. So what does legislature do? Legislative assembly, you can say, it is an assembly with the authority to make laws for a political entity such as a country or city or any city. Okay. Then coming towards executive, it is a branch of government exercising authority in and holding responsibility for the governance of a state. So how the state is working, like in our country, governing it, that whether they are doing right or wrong, adhering to the protocols and everything. So that is what the executive body does. Then judiciary, we all know, like it is the system of courts, justice and everything. So the new political system under the constitution was like there were judiciary, executive, legislature. In judiciary you have judge, in executive you have king and ministers, in legislature you have the National Assembly and the electors. And here the electors are selected, you can say the active citizens. The citizens are divided into active and passive. Active citizens are those who have the right to vote, who can vote. So about 4 million of a population of 28 million, they were like the active citizens entitled to vote. So they'll vote and select the electors. Then further the electors will vote and select the members of the National Assembly. Now see, the power is not, wait, the power is balanced. If you can see that the National Assembly can control the king, and the king also has a veto power. We'll discuss this veto thing. And further, National Assembly controls the ministers, and the judiciary is also voted by the active citizens. And who comes under passive citizens? Like passive citizens are those who have no voting rights, about 3 million men you can say, and the women, children and youth below 25. So active citizens are the youth above 25, and definitely the women and children didn't have the right to vote. So results of the constitution. So wait, yeah. So it abolished many institutions which were injurious to liberty and equality of rights. Like earlier there were so many things, extra privileges given to the first and third estate members, discrimination was there, equality was not there. So the result of the constitution was this only, that it abolished such institutions. Separation of powers, which we discussed, the legislative body, executive branch, judiciary. Under legislative body comes the National Assembly, under executive branch the king and the royal ministers, and judiciary is independent of other two. Judiciary in our country is also independent of the government. Okay, now this king was allowed veto to balance out interests of the people. So what is happening is that if only the representatives governed France, it was likely to be ruled by their self-interest, So the king had veto. Like veto is like something, if the representatives or the legislative body has taken some decision in their favor, like something belonging to their own self-interest, the king has that veto power to say no. Okay, so by the same token, you can say the representative democracy weakened king's execution power. So like the legislative body, as we discussed, right, the legislative has control over the king power, and the king had the veto. Then the constitution distinguished between propertied active citizens and poorer passive citizens. Like active citizens we talked about are those who have voting rights, and passive citizens don't have voting rights. Then the women lacked rights to liberties like education, freedom of speech, right, and worship. So again, women and children didn't have voting rights. So talking about constitution, like coming towards our constitution of India, do you know when it was adopted? It was adopted in 1949, but it became, you can say, effective in 1950. So our constitution declares India a sovereign, secular and democratic republic, you can say, assuring its citizens justice, equality and liberty. And if you don't know that, the Constitution of India is like one of the best constitutions drafted for a democracy. Now moving forward. The Declaration of the Rights of Man. So before the French colony adopted its first constitution in August of 1789, it adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen, which you can say the later on became the preamble of the constitution adopted in 1791. Now one question, that what is a preamble? You might be familiar with this term, like we have heard this term in recent months a lot of time. So what is a preamble? Preamble is an introduction or a preface, for example, to a book, a written document, speech, etc. You can say that explains its purpose. If you've read novels in any book, you might have noticed that in the first few pages there's a page which briefs you about that what we're going to read, and like it gives you an idea or the purpose, you can say that what the book says. So that's a preamble in general term. And this Declaration of the Rights of Man later on became the preamble of the Constitution of the French Constitution, which is adopted in 1791. So the declaration was drafted by Abbé Sieyès and the Marquis in consultation with Thomas Jefferson. These are the names. I'm sorry if I'm wrong in the pronunciation. Then coming towards the third point, right to life, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law were established as natural and inalienable rights. So definitely these are unnatural rights from birth, like the freedom of speech, right to life. Like we have the right to live and no one can take that. Then the rights of the man are universal, valid at all times and in every place. So the whole fight started in France from those privilege system which were enjoyed by the first estate, second estate from birth, and then the dues which are to be paid by third estate only. So this preamble, you can say, or this constitution abolished everything. Like it says that rights of the man are universal. It is valid at all times, that when the person is born or is in his teenage, mid-age, old age, and in every place wherever the person is. And talking about preamble, I'm just giving you a little homework that after this video, just Google it, the preamble of the Constitution of India. Like you should know that what our preamble says. Like we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And then further, you just go back, like after this video is completed, just Google it and read. The rights continued. So this is the, you can say, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. We'll quickly go through it. First, men are born and remain free and equal in rights. But notice here we are talking about, I think, men. Yeah, because women were denied certain rights. How the society has been, like you can say, the treated women in past, like a lot of suffering with the women, the poorer sections. But now we are fighting for equality, and today, if you ask, there's no difference between a boy and girl. Each one is progressing and achieving new heights. So we're moving towards a better society, a better world, you can say. Coming back, the aim of every political association is the preservation of the natural and inalienable rights of man. These are liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. I hope it's clear. Third, the source of all sovereignty resides in the nation. No group or individual may exercise authority that doesn't come from the people. So that means a government is by the people. Like the assembly would be selected by the electors, which are further selected by the active citizens. It is not such that a group of people would come and say that, you know, we have established new rights, you have to follow them. No, this is not a case. Then the fourth point is liberty consists of the power to do whatever is not injurious to others. Like, of course, when we say that we have freedom to do anything, that doesn't mean that, you know, you can go and harm somebody. It should not be injurious to others, keeping that in mind. That is what liberty means. And fifth point, the law has the right to forbid only actions that are injurious to society. Of course, the law cannot, suppose you're feeding a dog or an animal. The law cannot say that, okay, we'll arrest you and we'll punish you. That's not injurious, even that's helpful to the society, to the animals. So the law has the right only to forbid that actions which are injurious. Now, 6th point, law is the expression of the general will. All citizens have the right to participate in its formation, personally or through their representatives. All citizens are equal before it. It is a very important line, that all citizens are equal before the law. Whether you are a celebrity, a politician, a normal person, middle class, upper class, the law has to treat you equally. Okay. 7th point. No man may be accused, arrested, or detained except in cases determined by the law. Again, kind of similar to the 5th point. Then we have 11, 12, and 17. Yeah, okay. 11th point. Every citizen may speak, write, and print freely. He must take responsibility for the abuse of such liberty in cases determined by the law. So the speak, write, and print. These are the rights here given to the men because women were deprived. Then the 12th point, for the maintenance of the public force and for the expenses of administration, a common tax is indispensable. It must be assessed equally on all citizens in proportion to their means. Everyone pays taxes, whoever is earning, we pay taxes, we give tolls. So here the law also says that there would be a tax, but it would be, you can say, assessed equally on all citizens. It is not that the third estate members. Now there is no, you can say, state, like it is, the case is not that only the third estate has to pay alone. All citizens are equal. So with that equality, we means that the estate system no longer prolongs because every citizen is equal and has his own rights. Now 17th point, since property is a sacred and inviolable right, no one may be deprived of it unless a legally established public necessity requires it. In that case, a just compensation must be given in advance. So you can say that if someone is owning a property, the government cannot just come and take it. But still, if there is a necessity, a proper compensation needs to be provided. Once again, go through it on your own. We'll be moving forward. Reading the political symbols. So it's a small activity, you can say. Okay. So, if you'll see this first symbol, we'll discuss this one. What is it? I'll tell you the name. It's blue, white, red. You can say it's an end also. Just think for a second. Blue, white, red. If you've noticed, the flag of France is also blue, white, red. So this symbolizes the national colors of France. Okay, it's clear? Now moving towards next photo, this one. I think this is easy to interpret. Like if I see it without reading what it is written in the book, I say it's something chain and it is a broken chain. So when the chain gets broken, what it means that we are free. Okay, so this is the broken chain. The name is broken chain, and what it means? A broken chain stands for the act of becoming free. Like earlier, the chains were used to fetter slaves. Like the slaves were tied with these chains. So the broken chains means they are free. Now this one. Okay, the very first time when I looked at it, I just perceived it as an arrow, but it is not an arrow. Just look thoroughly, just see it. It's something like a bundle. So the name of this image is the bundle of rods or fasces. So the meaning, what it symbolizes is one rod can be easily broken, but not an entire bundle. So the strength lies in unity. So like we must have heard this bamboo stick example that you can break one bamboo stick easily but not a bundle. So when the people are united, they are together, they are, you can say, unstoppable. So that's what it symbolizes. That strength lies in unity. Now this one, it is the law tablet. When you first see it. It's something, it looks like a book, but it's the law tablet. The law is same for all and are equal before it. This is what it symbolizes. Now the next symbol, I. The big boss. No, it's not the big boss I. So just see what it symbolizes. The name of the symbol is the eye within a triangle radiating light. And what it means is the all-seeing eye stands for knowledge. It stands for knowledge, and the rays of the sun will drive away the clouds of ignorance. You can see the enlightenment. Okay, so the next is, it's a cap, red. I don't know how to pronounce it. Red Pyrenean cap. You just check its pronunciation once. So the meaning is cap worn by a slave upon becoming free. So all these symbols means freedom, education, enlightenment, knowledge, unity, strength. We have more symbols. We have 3 more symbols. This one. To me, it looks like a dragon, but it's not a dragon. It's a snake. So the name of the symbol is snake biting its tail to form a ring. And what it means, it's a symbol of eternity. Eternity, what it means, that a ring has neither beginning or end. Something which is eternal. Now, see what another, like, eternity means which is without beginning or end, or you can say like something which is continuing forever. Okay, so now quickly we'll go through the 2 symbols. What this means, to me, she looks like a fairy, but the name of the symbol is the winged woman, personification of the law. Law. Now the last symbol, what is it? It is, the name is sceptre. What it stands for? It stands for the royal power, you can say. Like basically it is a decorated rod carried by a king or queen on ceremonial occasions as a symbol of their power. So it was quite a long video. So we have discussed it thoroughly, that how an absolute monarchy becomes a constitutional monarchy. So thank you everyone. We'll be back with next part. Thanks.